Douglas Luiz has confirmed, well, it's being confirmed that he wants to leave Juventus and Juventus wants to get rid of him and he wants the Premier League. Now, that smells like opportunity on our end and we need an 8. Now, if you agree with him or as a player or the mold we need, get in the comments, let me know. But first and foremost, smash the likes, subscribe if you're brand new, and definitely get as much comments in as possible as it helps out more than you know. Anyways, moving on to Douglas Luiz. There's a lot of speculation around his future, and he's been recently linked with the likes of Nottingham Forest and Everton. But the best thing about this is that even before, Matteo Moretto came out and reported that he is holding out for better offers. Not word for word, but as a summary, he's holding out for a much bigger club. And we've been linked with him, and Tottenham Hotspur have as well, who are also looking for a 6. Maybe they're looking for more of a destroyer type. Maybe that's kind of the type that we may need, in particular to partner Bruno Fernandes. The question is, do you trust Douglas Luiz to come back into the fold in the Premier League and do what he did at Aston Villa? My whole answer to that is, oh yeah, 100%. Just because I'm actually desperate. And I do believe there's a situation for him to make home again. You know, even being back in Manchester, he's used to the city. It's not like he's going to get homesick. You know, he was in Manchester City's academy for a good couple years before he made the move to Villa. And overall, I believe some Man City fans even wanted to pull the buyback trigger. They never did. He hasn't settled well over in Italy and Turin. You know, even the whole split with his missus or ex-missus, what's her name, Lehman, something like that, whatever her first name is. And also he's not had a great time in terms of injury as well. I don't believe he's a bad player. I believe there's a player that's willing to prove what he's got. You know, he's not injury prone. He's just had a bad season. And when you look at the injury list, you go through them, they're not exactly worrisome. It's just that he lost his place in the end. You know, when you got injuries and you're injury plagued, something a little bit to the likes of Kobe Mainoo this season, it's hard to get back into the team. It's hard to find some flow. And it just hasn't happened for him, let alone countless others. When you're hearing around £25 million, you look at the market and it's always been said that United will look for certain opportunities. I don't see why we even have to pay the £25 million. See, on the United front, no, if Douglas Luiz is willing to wait, he puts in requests of who he wants, depending on, of course, interest. Then you do look at that and think, well, Marcus Rashford just went for, on loan, right, to Barcelona with an optional fee. Why can't we do the same? I mean, we do know that Juventus want to sell, but they're not getting a move on with Jadon Sancho. But I can see a potential, like-for-like kind of swap. You know, Douglas Luiz on around 125k, something along that mark. It's not that bad. We need a really experienced midfielder at a good age, ready to get going again. And United are building this, Brazilian, Portuguese-speaking kind of core at the club. I mean, bring him in, right? I feel like the Premier League is suited to him a little bit like Christian Eriksen was always suited to Prem more than the Italian League. I don't know why things went downhill for him or why he fell out of favour. You'd think he'd kill it over there. But the question is he the ideal midfielder that Manchester United have requested in terms of athleticism? You could say yeah. But someone that's quick to get up and down the pitch. Now, I would actually have to say no, because Douglas Luiz has a lot of questionable defensive qualities that I'm not particularly in favour of, because I do want something a little bit different that's good on the back foot defending. But in terms of ticking some boxes, in terms of, playmaking, picking up from the first phase, dead ball specialist, I wouldn't mind having a handful of those. Especially when it comes to penalty shootouts. Look, have we got Mbumo, Cunha, Bruno, Harry Maguire, dare I say. But I feel like he'd be a good asset if you can get him on loan. I mean, it's better to bring in a central midfielder than no central midfielder. It's just how quick can he adapt to a two-man midfield, you're going to ask. Well, he used to do that alongside Kamara. But the difference is Douglas Luiz was pretty much more of the 8 than the 6. And I feel like United need more of a 6. Hence why I kind of want someone like Luiz Agume. And I think the club's banking on Sekou Kone. I'm not going to be mad at either option. Just let's see a little something right first. Let's see how he fares against all these other, English sides that we're going to play over pre-season. Let alone Luiz Agume is even cheaper than the Douglas Luiz. United's just got a massive midfield crisis going on. There's not enough legs. And in terms of someone that can do a bit of everything, it's always a bad mismatch, whoever you put up with one another. Agate, great at back foot defending. What I mean by back foot defending is when a team has the ball and he's running at your goal and you need someone to chase back and defend that, then Agate is your man. He's going to come in, he's going to swoop that up and, Bob's your uncle. It's his game. But the difference with Agate is sniffing out the danger before it's going to happen. This is what we call high IQ in terms of defensive abilities. Hence why you got the likes of someone like Lamine Kamara that I've seen, and I've scouted him out, seeing, he's really good at snuffing out danger before it happens. That's what you call front foot defending. Without getting too technical, it's exactly what we need. But we need a bit of both. That's why we need someone that's going to be able to collect the ball, is super comfortable. Basically, long story short, the overall ideal midfielder, if you want Bruno to thrive in that role as an 8, because you need Bruno going further forward where he does the most damage. When he's facing the goal, Bruno can do whatever he needs to do. Before I get all the Bruno haters coming in here telling me that, no, Cass, you're very wrong. Why are you defending Bruno? Bruno should have went to Saudi. The reality is, he's here to stay. He's Manchester United's captain and he's going to start. So United, in my opinion, have a responsibility to give him someone where it suits him and it partners up very, very well. I don't think Mainu's going to be that partner. I don't think Agate's necessarily going to be the best partner, probably more the ideal one because of the form of legs. Casemiro definitely not. It's too old, it's too slow, it's too sluggish, and they go hiding too much. I don't know anyone else. The other one I would say that suits him a little bit more is someone like Toby Collier. Again, might be a little bit limited there. In the same breath, who else have we got left? Maybe Sekou Kone can be that man if he can prove that he's going to go from strength to strength. A little bit like how we saw Kobe. But in terms of Douglas Luiz and that profile, if United go with that, then United's got to change the way we play. You want to play a more high-up, intense game, Douglas Luiz can do that. But when it comes to the back foot defending, Douglas Luiz is not necessarily going to be your best friend. You might get some great ball recovery situations, same with Bruno, but we need someone definitely, I think, remotely a little bit more athletic and someone that has more defensive capabilities than attacking capabilities, but is able to pass forward. So that's why I feel like United may or may not pull the trigger, but I feel like United should pull the trigger. Because I think from a playmaking standard, for the players that we do possess up front and as wing-backs, I feel like having a couple playmakers that can definitely run the game a little bit more smoother could be to our absolute benefit. And it might give us a stopgap between next year as we're looking at said other players. There's so many options out there between the likes of 15 to 25 million. And I know United are looking at Ollie Watkins right now, which has been reported. Looks like he's going to be the number 9 to maybe come through the doors of Old Trafford. And also the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper seems very easy to do. The striker, on the other hand, might take some time. So if we're going to go and get any sort of midfielder, it could be like a Agate situation where we're going to have to wait to the end. We're going to have to wait for Sancho and Antony to depart before we can make a move for a midfielder. And Garnacho's the key to go and get in the likes of a striker like Ollie Watkins, the more expensive one. So on that notice, it's always going to be a waiting game. I feel like Douglas Luiz fits the bill in terms of Prem proven. He's done it for a couple of years. He definitely was a part of the better Aston Villa side than we saw last year. I feel like they were missing him in a small part. In the end, when others were telling us we should go get a Nana, I can see why we need a Nana. If we had a Nana, Amadou, he would have served a partner for Bruno much better. There's another profile that I like. He is at Chelsea. I don't know if United will look at him. He had a decent season for Southampton. Was Leslie Ugachukwu. That's someone of that mould. I feel like we might need someone around that basis. Hence why I keep talking about Luiz Agume. Someone who's got pretty much the makings of everything and super. He's in a good age bracket of 22. He's had 1 year of men's football. Sevilla, they didn't have a good season, but he showed his capabilities. Anyways, if you agree with Douglas Luiz, should Manchester United pull the trigger? Because he definitely wants us. It came out before, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a little bit of flirting going on in the coming days or 4 weeks. Thank you so much. Make sure you smash the likes, subscribe if you're brand new, and we'll keep it going.